What's happening, savages? This is Immortal Coil, your future minister of whiskey mysticism. Revolution is my name. And today, we're talking about being raised in cults in the Star Wars galaxy. Now, before we begin, I want to thank all 260 of you savages for standing by. And if you're new to this channel, go ahead and like, share, subscribe. Let me know what you want to see on future editions of Savage Spirituality. Now, the number of channels that review episode by episode things like The Mandalorian and Rebels and Star Wars The Clone Wars are numerous. And I would recommend any other Fandom Menace channels for the nuances of said shows. Now, you're coming to this video and I'm assuming that you have seen all this stuff, so there's going to be spoilers, but what I like to do on this channel is kind of take it to a new dimension. Over the course of the season and a half that we've been given in The Mandalorian, we've been introduced to the idea that Din Djarin has been raised in a cult, a Mandalorian cult, of which he had no conception of any other way of Mandalorian life until he met Bo-Katan. Significantly, his sect of Mandalorian never removed their helmets. Bo-Katan did. And in that instant, Din Djarin's world was never the same. Here, we see Bo-Katan delivering the news to Mando.
And you are a child of the Watch.
The Watch?
Children of the Watch are a cult of religious zealots that broke away from Mandalorian society. Their goal was to reestablish the ancient way.
There is only one way. The way of the Mandalore.
Now, the implication here is that the children of the Watch sprang from the ashes of Death Watch, which in retrospective history came to be viewed as a group of terrorists dedicated to restoring the warrior-like traditions of the Mandalorian race. Now, I suspect at some point Din Djarin's going to come to terms with how he was raised and eventually become okay with removing his helmet. And that leads me to believe that maybe some of this Pedro Pascal brouhaha in the media might be a piece of staged publicity. We'll see. Now, the other big cult that people were raised in prior to Order 66 was the Order of the Jedi. And the Jedi sought out Force-sensitive infants and young kids in order to raise them in the temple, in order to become fully engrossed in the Jedi way. The famous exceptions to this rule being the Skywalkers, first Anakin and then Luke, who were both told,
He's too old. He is too old.
Now, why is this? It's because young minds are very malleable, and they have yet to form concrete conclusions about what reality is, and it's very telling. That's why people feel it's so very important to introduce culture and religion and things like that early on into kids, so that through repetition it becomes part of who they are. Interestingly, and perhaps quite rightly so, the Jedi believed that if they took on Padawans after they had reached a certain age, that their attachments and their worldview and their emotional makeup made it easy to fall to the dark side, which Anakin Skywalker surely did. Conversely, the Sith relied on that, so they would find Force-sensitive beings and corrupt them. Pain, fear, anger, these are the tools of the Sith. The ancient Sith had a temple, very much like the Jedi, and the numerous Sith there would learn the ways of the dark side, but also connive and scheme and kill each other until Darth Bane. And it is also of note that they didn't tend to take younglings in the same way that the Jedi did. The notable exception in canon being the Zabrak, Darth Maul. Now, Darth Maul was found on the planet Dathomir, where he was given to Darth Sidious. And Darth Sidious raised Maul to be a Sith. Now, eventually he became known as a Sith assassin, but I have no problem stating that in my mind, had Darth Maul proven that he and Sidious could take on Darth Plagueis, that Darth Maul would have been the apprentice to the Dark Lord of the Sith. Now, Darth Maul, of course, allowed his arrogance to bisect him at the hands of Obi-Wan Kenobi. And indeed, Obi-Wan Kenobi took down more Sith than most modern Jedi. Interesting note. Now, Star Wars is famous for playing up to certain points of view, and one of the nastier truths that Palpatine alluded to was that good and evil existed in a certain perspective, and in order to know the great mystery, you had to realize all the different little perspectives, which is a state of mind, incidentally, that I believe the Bendu was able to achieve. The new Disney sequels, I think, intended to promote a perspective like that, but with Rey at the helm and the underlying identity politics, that message was lost. There is a great flexibility in thinking once you've pushed past the barriers of what you previously believed. But that sort of liberation of thought is anathema to a rigid structure, a codified thing such as Jedi or Sith or Children of the Watch. On the one hand, it gives you an identity, but does that identity free you or cage you?